If you have a deep skin tone and you want to learn how to get that perfect soft glam look, I'm about to show you. Hello my loves, my name is Jasmine and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing an updated soft glam makeup routine. I was watching my soft glam makeup tutorial from about 7-8 months ago and I realized that a lot has changed in how I do my kind of signature soft glam makeup look, and I wanted to do an updated version so that it's more reflective of what I have been currently doing when it comes to soft glam makeup. What I want a lot of you guys to remember is that soft glam is still glam. I see a lot of people call natural makeup soft glam, and that is just not the case. It's a completely different makeup look. Natural, neutral, and soft glam are not the same thing. So if you want to see how I got this perfect soft glam for deep skin tones, keep on watching. Okay, I come to you with a completely bare face. I don't even have my brows done. Let's do them together. My first step is to always take a paper towel and clean any skincare out of my brows. I feel that brow products lay the best on clean and dry brows, so I always make sure to clean any sunscreen, moisturizer, any skincare that might be in them. This stopped recording for some reason, I'm not sure why, but all I did was gel down my brows. Now to clean them up, I'm just going to take a Q-tip, and I'm going to be honest y'all, you can use a micellar water. Most of the time I just stick it in my mouth. Sorry. And then I use it to clean the excess brow gel on my face. It is my face. If I was doing somebody else's face, I wouldn't do that. I would just use a micellar water. I have a new brow product that I've been using recently that I really like. This is the Urban Decay Brow Blade. This is not a new product, but it is new to me. I've used it for the past couple of weeks and I've really enjoyed it. And mine is in the shade Dark Drapes. I love this because it has both a pencil side that is retractable and a pen side. As somebody who uses an eyebrow pen and a pencil most of the time, I really like this. I'm going to start with the pencil side of the brow blade and I'm going to line underneath my brows first. I'm just using short strokes to create a straight line. And then I also sometimes like to go across the top to kind of shape the tail, but I think today I'm just going to go across the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to close that and I'm going to go over to the pen side and I'm going to use this to fill in any sparse areas of the brow. I'm just going to use light strokes and I'm going to go in the same direction that the brow hairs are going in. I'm focusing mostly on my tail because that's the sparsest area of my brow. And then I'm using an even lighter hand and less product towards the front of the brow. Before we conceal the brows, I'm going to go in with my primer. For my first primer, I'm going to use the DANESSA MYRICKS Blurring Balm Powder. This is in the Universal shade. You guys know I love this. I like to use the little spatula that it comes with to scoop some of the product out. And then I apply it onto my fingers and warm it up. And then I'm going to apply it to the skin. I really like this primer because it is going to fill my pores, but it's also going to mattify and control excess oils. I also like to apply this to the T-zone, so that is the nose and forehead. That is where I get the most oily, so don't worry, we are not going to stop there with primer because that area needs a little extra love. Next, I'm going to go in with my DANESSA MYRICKS Water Powder Serum. It's very clear that I love this product. I'm a little bit over halfway through with it now, and I've had it for a while. I only go in with, how many drops is that? 5 drops on my entire face. A little bit definitely goes a long way, and using these two products together is magical. It's going to keep you really matte all day. If you have oily skin like I do, or if you just like more of a matte look, then you'll really like this primer combo. Now we're gonna conceal the brows. I'm gonna use my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. This is in the shade Dark 1 Cacao, and I'm gonna take it on a flat eyeshadow brush, and I'm gonna use this to first conceal underneath the brow. And And then I also like to go on my tail just to make it look really sharp. I personally have really been enjoying concealing the entire top of the brow. I feel like it gives my brows lots of beautiful structure, and I get a lot of compliments when I do it this way. Some people would say it's very 2016 of me, but I'm sorry, I really like how it looks, and I get a lot of compliments, like I said. If you're going to conceal the top part of your brow, please make sure that your concealer is the same shade as your skin tone. If not more than one shade lighter than your skin tone, because you really don't want to have a halo brow effect, which is when your brows kind of have like a lightish halo around them. The name is kind of self-explanatory. So this is how the brow looks concealed versus unconcealed. As you can see, there's a huge difference. Okay, now we can get into the rest of the face. I'm going to start with color correcting. I'm using the MORPHE Wakeup Artist Correcting Concealer in the shade Cinnamon. If you have a deep skin tone, you want to use an orange color corrector to cancel out any hyperpigmentation you may have. And usually I would go straight in with my color corrector, but I've changed my method and I've started putting it on the back of my hand first. I also got these little disposable hand palettes from Amazon. I can link them down below for you. These are so helpful because my hand doesn't get as messy and I can just take it off and throw it away. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of the color corrector to the back of my hand, and then I'm gonna go in with my brush and shear it out. This is gonna make sure that we don't apply too much product at once, and I'm gonna analyze my face and see where I have any hyperpigmentation. For me, I do have some darkness underneath my eyes and around my mouth, so this is where I'm going to apply it, and you can see already. You see the difference? It is going to correct that hyperpigmentation so that it doesn't show through our makeup. This will also allow for you to use less product if you feel like doing so, instead of piling on your concealer or your foundation. If you have dark spots, you can also spot conceal those with your color corrector. I don't have any dark spots, so I'm not going to need to do that today. If you need more product, you can definitely go in with a little bit more, but less is more when it comes to color corrector. Trust me, as somebody who often would have an orange face before putting on any foundation, this really helps. Also, if any of you guys are skincare girlies, I am pretty good with my skincare. As you guys can see, my skin looks pretty good most of the time, but I'm not really sure how to combat the hyperpigmentation around my mouth. I think it's just how my face is. I feel like it's always been like that, but if there are skincare products that I can use to kind of even out my skin tone, please let me know. I've been using a vitamin C for the past week. I think that might help, but if there's anything I'm not doing, please let me know. Next, I'm gonna go in with foundation. My foundation of choice today is my NARS Soft Matte. I don't use this one as often, and it's not because it's not my favorite, it's because it is. And I know that sounds so backwards, but most of the time when I'm filming, y'all, I'm not going anywhere. And I really love to save this one for when I am, because I know it's just gonna look so amazing. I added some on the back of my hand. I'm using this BK Beauty foundation brush to apply to my skin. And like I said, if I had to name my favorite foundation of all time, it would be this one because it is perfect for my skin type. I have oily skin, so I love a good matte foundation. It is my perfect match. It looks flawless. It makes me look so flawless. I feel like my skin literally looks unreal and like porcelain when I have this foundation on. And I also feel that this foundation doesn't move. This is one of the few that I can say it don't move. It doesn't. So this is the foundation I can safely say that I trust with my life, truly. This is also usually in my travel bag because when I'm going on trips, when I'm going to brand events and I want my makeup to be indestructible, I'm reaching for this foundation. For my cream bronzer today, I'm going to be using the Essence Baby Got Bronze Bronzing Stick. This is in the shade Crush on Caviar. I've really been enjoying this. I highly recommend this to all of my dark skin girlies because it is a beautiful bronzer and is also only $5 at Ulta. So if you're a baddie on a budget, this one is very accessible. I'm very late to the party on this. Somebody said they didn't like this because of the smell. It had kind of like a fruity smell to me that I didn't even notice until I put my nose in it. It also just blends out so nicely. It's very pigmented. Like, you see how just chocolatey and bronze I look with that? So pretty. So we're gonna blend that into the cheekbones. I'm sorry, I didn't really explain how I placed that. I placed it on my cheekbones, and I'm blending in an upward motion to kind of emphasize the cheekbone as well as add warmth to the skin, because that's what bronzer does. We're not trying to add shadows because that's what contour does. This is going to add warmth. I also really love a bronzed forehead, so I added quite a bit on the perimeter of my forehead, so that's kind of where I'm going to keep this. So we're adding bronzer anywhere the sun would kind of hit. I'm gonna get up in my scarf here and just blend that into the perimeter. Since light naturally hits the center of the forehead, it wouldn't make sense to put bronzer and create a shadow there. I also added some to my jawline. This technically would be contour because this is where there is a shadow on the face, but as I have a neutral leaning warm undertone, I just prefer how bronzer looks here to contour on most days. I do like a contour sometimes, but on most days I feel like bronzer gives me a more natural look. For my cream blush today, I'm going to use the RHODE blush in the shade Toasted Teddy. For a soft glam, I did want to use more muted and soft colors rather than colors that are more punchy. I almost decided to use a red because red is a universally flattering color, and honestly, depending on how this looks, I might add a little bit of a red, but I think this color is really pretty on deep skin. I know that it doesn't work on everybody, but I think it is a beautiful just flush of color. I think I'm also going to add a little bit of this E.L.F blush. This is in the shade Bronze Bombshell. I'm going to add a little bit of this over top. This has more of an orangey tone to it, but it is still quite muted, and it's going to give us kind of a bronzy look even though it's still a blush. I'm just applying this on the entire cheek from the temple down to the apple of the cheek because when we apply our concealer, it's going to make this easier to blend into the blush so that there's no harsh lines. I also like to go back in with my bronzer brush and just blend along the edges to make sure everything is seamlessly blended together and there's no harsh lines, nothing is overpowering each other. I'm also going to take my foundation brush and do the same thing, just kind of blend around things so that it doesn't look too harsh. Next, I'm going to go in with concealer. I've been testing out the NATASHA DENONA Hy-Glam concealer and I've really been liking it. This is such a beautiful concealer. It's very lightweight, but it still has really nice full glam coverage. I'm going to start with the shade NR15, and for my concealer placement, I like to place this underneath the eyes, but I'm avoiding the innermost corner. And I'm going to go kind of from the nostril to the outer corner of my eye. I'm also going to go above my lip for some extra coverage there, in the center of the chin, in the middle of the bridge of my nose, and then in the center of the forehead. Notice how we're highlighting the center of the face because this is where light naturally hits. Next, I'm going to take the shade NY12 and I'm going to use that to highlight the innermost corner of my under eye. I really like a nice bright under eye, so I really like using two shades to achieve this look. Before blending in any of my concealer, I'm going to use a setting spray. Today I'm going to be using the ANASTASIA Impeccable setting spray. This is not very new, it's kind of new, but new to me. I've never tried it before, but I know that this is supposed to have more of a matte finish, which I really want for this look. So I'm going to use this over my face, being very generous with it, and I'm going to let this settle into the skin. Once it is dry, then we're going to blend out the concealer. So first I'm going to blend out my chin. I'm going to leave the under eye for last. It really doesn't matter which order you kind of blend your face in, but I highly believe in blending your under eye last because this is going to give it an optimal amount of time to settle into the skin, and also so that it has the most coverage possible. When it comes to blending out forehead concealer as well, you want to make sure you go back in with your cream bronzer blush and blend out the edges so that there's no harsh lines there. And I kind of just tap the bridge of my nose to blend that out, and then I like to go back in with my foundation brush and blend along the sides so that that doesn't look too harsh either. And now we blend out the under eye. I'm going to start with the darker shade and I'm going to blend out the edges of that first. I'm going to try to keep this pretty much where we placed it. I'm not going to spread this out too much. And then as I'm blending, I'm getting closer and closer to the innermost corner. But before we get to that second shade, I will stop, and then I'm going to go in with a second concealer brush. I'm going to go in with this Rare Beauty concealer brush, and I'm going to use this to blend that concealer out. Again, I'm not spreading this out too much. I'm going to go back in with my first concealer brush, and you see how there's a harsh line next to my nose? I'm going to blend it out with that concealer brush. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I feel like blending like this really helps to make sure that we don't have as many harsh lines, and it also gives us this really nice brightening effect to where the majority of the brightness is in the innermost corner of the under eye. Now, I do not know why my camera keeps stopping. I don't know at what point it stopped at, but I've just finished blending in my concealer. Lately, I've been going in with setting spray a second time before applying my pressed powder I think it really helps with helping your makeup last all day. So I'm going to add another layer of the Anastasia setting spray. If you're familiar with my content, you know my two-step setting powder routine, but my two-step setting routine is when I use a pressed powder and a loose setting powder. First, we're going to go in with our pressed powder. This is the Maybelline Fit Me powder in the shade 310. I love this powder so much. I'm going to take it on a powder puff, not too much, just enough so that the point is coated in powder, and we're going to set our under eyes first. So what I'm going to do before putting any powder on is blend out any of the creases that may have formed in the meantime. And then I'm going to take my powder puff without looking down so that we don't create any more creases, and I'm going to set my under eye. I'm really focusing on where my eyes crease first and then setting the rest of the under eye. Same thing, we're going to load our powder puff with our pressed powder and keep it handy. And then with our concealer brush, we're going to blend out any creases that may have formed. Take our powder puff and set everything into place. I like to also go over my nose with my pressed powder. And now we're going to go over all of the areas that we added any concealer. So the center of the forehead, above the lip, and the chin. Now we're going to take another pressed powder. This is the One Size Turn Up the Base Versatile Powder Foundation. This one is in the shade Deep 2G, and as you can see, I've hit pan on it. I love this. Love, love, love it. I'm going to take a large powder brush. This one is from Sephora Collection, and I'm going to use this to set the rest of my makeup into place. It is so important to use powder when doing your makeup so that you know that your face is set into place and it won't move. Don't forget to powder your neck because you should have applied foundation to your neck as well, and you want to set that into place with powder. That is step 1 of our setting powder routine. Step 2 is our loose powder. Today I'm using the One Size Ultimate Setting Powder, and I'm using the shade Ultra Peach today. This is a beautiful peachy shade that's very flattering on dark skin tones, especially if you have a neutral or warm undertone. I'm going to load the powder onto a powder puff. This is a separate one, and we don't want it to be super chunky on the powder puff like this. We want it to be smooth, so I'm just going to smooth it out in the palm of my hand. Once it is smooth, we can go in on our under eye. I am baking today, so I am going to be using a lot of product, and I'm getting as close to my waterline as possible so that we can really get in all the areas that our under eye creases. The reason that we bake is so that we can increase the longevity of our makeup, specifically the under eye, because this area tends to crease first compared to any other area of the face. If you have oily skin like I do, the center of your face also gets oily. So this is really helpful for making sure we control our oils. I'm also going to go above my lip because I tend to get oily and sweaty there. And again, I like to add this in all the areas that I applied concealer. And my forehead also tends to get shiny so easily, so I'm going to do a light bake over my forehead as well. And then I also like to go down the center of my nose. The reason I kind of bake around my nose like this is to give it a reverse contour effect. Now I'm going to apply some powder bronzer. I have been using the new Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Blurring Bronzer Powder Bronzer lately. It is so beautiful. This is in the shade Dark Deep, which is a really nice shade for my skin tone. And I'm just going to basically set the cream bronzer that we used into place with this. I like to use tapping motions as well. I still don't like to swipe too much with this because if you swipe, it can apply too much product at once and can make you look a little bit muddy, which we do not want. I'm also going to apply to the perimeter of the forehead because I really like for this area to be bronzed. And then again along the jawline to create a shadow here. I'm also going to use any excess loose powder on my powder puff to carve out underneath my bronzer so that this can be nice and sharp and defined. I don't let this sit for more than literally a couple of seconds because we don't want this area to be too bright. So I'm going to take my powder brush that I used for the One Size powder foundation, and I'm just going to press this into place and kind of swipe it away so that we don't have too much of a cast. And now we can get into removing the baking powder. I called it baking powder, but you know what I mean, the loose setting powder that we use to bake. I'm using the brush that is the same shade as my skin tone to remove it on all of the other areas of my face, but I'm avoiding my under eye and my nose. And notice how I'm pressing it into place. I'm not sweeping too much. I'm also going to take the powder puff that we use to apply the powder under our eyes, and I'm first going to press this powder into the skin. I love how smooth this powder is. And then I'm going to use a powder brush to sweep and blend the rest of that powder away. At this point, I am going to use another layer of my setting spray to melt the powders into the skin. And again, we're gonna let this dry. Okay, our face is dry. I am really liking this setting spray so far. I like that it didn't add too much of a glow to my skin because that is not the look that I'm going for today. I am gonna go in with my powder bronzer, and using an eyeshadow brush, I am going to contour my nose. I like to go along the sides of the nose. This is going to differ depending on the natural shape of your nose, so you don't have to do it the same way that I am. And then I like to go underneath, and I personally like to completely cover the nostril and then go across the top to kind of emphasize the button shape of my nose. I'm also going to emphasize these natural contours that I have on my nose, and that's it. That's how I contour my nose. Super quick, super easy. I've brought you in a bit closer so that we can do some eyeshadow today. Don't think you could get away with not doing anything with your eyes. Today I'm going to be using the Morphe Solo Artist Priming Cream Eyeshadow. This is in the shade Mixtape. These are new. I have used one of the other shades and I really like it. I'm actually just going to use my finger to apply this. The last time I used a brush and I didn't really love how it came out, and I did see somebody else use their finger to apply it and I thought it looked really nice. So I'm going to do the same thing. I think that's definitely blending onto my eyelid a little better than when I used the brush. This is also going to dry down into a powder, which is really nice. They have darker shades as well, but I really wanted to use one that was slightly lighter than my skin tone so that the eyeshadows that we use can pop. Today I'm going to be using the Morphe Flickering Sands eyeshadow palette. It is this beautiful neutral palette. I featured it in my last video, or if not my last video, the one where I showed products that everyone with dark skin needs. I'm gonna go into this dark brown shade first on a fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm gonna build this on my outer corner. I'm just gonna stamp it there, and then I'm going to blend it about halfway into my crease. Don't worry, I'm not gonna ask you to do too much with your eyes, but I feel like for a soft glam, we can do a nice soft eyeshadow look. As you can see, that is not taking us too much time at all to blend. And then with a flatter yet still fluffy eyeshadow brush, I'm going to take this lighter brown shade and I'm going to apply this to the lid. Again, kind of packing it onto the lid at first. And then I'm going to blend the edges into the other eyeshadow shade, and then you can bring this as high up as you want. And that's it. That's all you need for a soft glam eye. You don't need to do too much, but I feel like adding a little bit of eyeshadow, it will not make your makeup look too heavy. I think a lot of y'all need to remember that a soft glam is still glam. I'm so sick and tired of seeing people do a natural makeup look and calling it a soft glam. Maybe it's still glam. It's still glam. You still need to put product on your face, on your eyes. Trust me, I'm definitely guilty of not putting on any eyeshadow sometimes, honestly a lot of the time, and I'm really trying to get back into just adding something to the eye. And this is an easy eyeshadow look that you can just throw on and doesn't take more than 5 minutes for both eyes. It's so easy and simple, and it just makes you look a little bit more put together and a little bit more glam. Lastly, we're going to take this eyeshadow up here on a dense eyeshadow brush, and we are going to add it to our inner corner. If you want, you can definitely do a shimmery shade, but I just really like how a matte inner corner looks for any eyeshadow look, whether it's colorful or it's neutral. I just think it looks very nice and brightening for the rest of your face. Okay, I have zoomed you back out so we can finish the rest of the face. I have picked out the NYX Buttermelt Blush in the shade Back and Butter. It's this beautiful bronzy kind of maroon shade, and I'm gonna add this to the high points of my cheeks. I'm not gonna bring this too far down the face. I kind of want it to blend into the bronzer really nicely. I'm also going to take my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Brightening Powder. This is in the shade 2. And with this Kosas Face Detailer brush, I'm going to apply underneath my eyes and kind of blend it into the blush so that there's no harsh lines between our blush and our under eye. I'm keeping a majority of the brightness to the inner corner and then using a light hand to blend the blush. For my mascara today, I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty Hella Thick in the black shade, and I'm just going to apply this to my lashes so that they are completely black and so that they will blend into our false lashes nicely. I hate when I do this. I accidentally kind of got the brush in my eye and blinked and I got mascara on my face, but not to panic. We'll get it off, but I hate when that happens. This mascara is a little bit dry. I think I'm gonna need to get a new one very soon because this has dried out quite a bit. Okay, lashes are on. These are from La Vide Lashes and Sophia's collab. So cute. These are in the style Duvaline, and I think they're so cute and perfect for a soft glam. Now I'm gonna use my Huda Beauty One Coat Wow Mascara on my bottom lashes. Oh, by the way, I did remove the mascara on my under eye that I got. I just used a spoolie to just lightly scrape it off once it dried. It works every single time. And now I'm just applying the mascara onto my bottom lashes. You can apply a lot or a little bit depending on the look that you're going for. I've heard some people even say that they don't like bottom lash mascara at all, which I think is understandable. For me, it just depends on the look I'm going for. I think for a soft glam you can still add lower lash mascara, but probably just a little bit like I did here, just so they have a little something. Okay, I really want to do a really nice nude pink lip today. I'm going to start with my One Size Coin Collector lip liner. It's so tiny. This is my favorite lip liner, y'all, and I'm just so, I barely want to say it, but I haven't lost it. But I do have a backup because I'm running out, but I love this lip liner so much. Like, you see that color? It is just the perfect neutral brown shade. Next, I'm going to double line with Charlotte Tilbury's Pillow Talk 3 Intense. This is a little bit warmer of a brown. This needs to be sharpened so bad as well. This is one I'm also getting down in because I use it quite a bit, especially when I'm double lining or if I don't want too deep of a lip liner. I sharpen this so well. I'm gonna try my best not to break it. For my lipstick, I got a bunch of new MAC lipsticks during their sale. It was kind of over Father's Day weekend, and this is in the shade Creme de Nude. This is from their Maximal Satin collection. I'm going to just dab this in the center because this is very nude, and with colors like this, I just want to dab it and not swipe so that it's not too much pigment at once. And then of course, we're gonna blend. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit more of the Charlotte Tilbury. For my gloss, I'm gonna use my Lawless Forget the Filler lip gloss in the shade Strawberry Shortcake. This is a beautiful nude pink shade. There's often a lot of gloss on the applicator for this. If I wasn't using a lipstick, I would use all of it, but I'm gonna start with a small amount, and I'm focusing this on the center of my lip. I'm also gonna go in with Turkish Delight from NARS in the center as well, and I'm just kind of dabbing this in so that it doesn't blend the lip liner in too much. Okay, we are going to lock this makeup in with my two-step setting spray routine. Good things come in twos, okay? I might make a TikTok, a reel about this, but good things come in twos when it comes to doing your makeup. I'm gonna use my ANASTASIA Impeccable once again. And then, of course, my One Size Until Dawn. And here is my completed soft glam makeup look. I really love how this came out. I think it looks absolutely stunning and updated from the last time I did a makeup look like this. I don't know if I used too many different techniques, but I think this look came out really different from 7-8 months ago when I did that makeup tutorial, and I really like how this came out. I really feel like this is a true soft glam. Let me know what you think of this look in the comments. I hope you guys like it. And also make sure you leave any recommendations for any products you may have. I remember I asked if you guys had any product recs for hyperpigmentation. I would so greatly appreciate that. I love when we all help each other in the comments. Please make sure to give this video a like and leave a comment down below. Make sure you also subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notification bell so you don't miss another video from me. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!